we are becoming an overly litigious state. And that's also not healthy. You cannot run to court for anything and everything under the sun. You cannot, nowadays in Kenya, somebody can go to court and say it has not rained in the last week. And that's not good. Nowadays, it's even so boring to watch news. It's just so empty. Because it's just divisions and insincerity, and you don't really understand the intentions of Azimio or the game plan or anything, and it's a lot of noise and it's really tiring. He's also seen or known to be a Christian. So let the president just be a Christian. Because it's not me who asked him to go to CU or to spend time in church.
Hello there and welcome to Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. This is Jadiel Kabiro and filtered on the 3rd day of January. Welcome once again to these conversations that I say are unfiltered. I hope my guests will not censor themselves. They'll comply with the Constitution of Kenya and YouTube community guidelines. Other than that, they can say whatever they will or damn well please. Welcome Benji Ndolo to this conversation. How are you doing?
Thank you, my brother. Asante sana and Happy New Year once again.
Once again, I'm absolutely grateful that you've joined us. Yesterday's conversation was amazing. People have sent me an anonymous and quite insightful. They've said the conversation was quite insightful and they hope President William Ruto will adhere to some of the things you told him to adhere to in the year 2024. Today we're still talking about resolutions and expectations. Last year, President William Ruto was termed a dictatorial president when you look at his do-or-die approach to the Financial Act and the housing levy, and his leadership style, the way he's uttering, has caused a lot of jitters. From Mambo ni Matatu dominating 2023 to this word is not for chopping mboga or vegetables. When you look at this 2024 about following the constitution, adhering to the rule of law, and being a president for the people, back in Moi's time it was Baba wa Taifa, and when you go ahead and say this word is not for chopping vegetables, what message is this sending? In 2024, what do you expect from Ruto when it comes to, look, I have these resolutions, they are not getting met, I have to send some chills down people's spine so that, they can do what I want them to do. How should he act? How should he behave? What leadership style should he approach?
Yeah, so once again, allow me to take this opportunity to wish Kenyans a Happy New Year and to just hope that this will be a very prosperous year, not just in words but in deeds, that there'll be a lot of hope, that there'll be a lot of opportunity, that there'll be a lot of movement in the markets, the shilling, the trade, the national debt, that we will see movement in the positive direction, and also southern movement in consumer prices, cost of living, and what have you. That is really our absolute hope for this year. And just to wish the country well, to wish Kenyans well, to foster good relations and unity amongst communities, amongst Kenyans, so that indeed we are not a country to be mocked by our neighbors, but a country to be proud of. And maybe just as I say that, I know there's a lot of feedback and what have you. Let me just clarify my actual Twitter handle, because we get a lot of followers, a lot of feedback there, is at Benji Ndolo. I still don't call it X, it is Twitter, at Benji Ndolo with a O, no H at the end. There are a lot of other fake accounts there, but that when you have a lot of fake accounts, that tells you that you're doing something right. And
actually you are doing something right. My question is on President William Ruto's utterances in 2023 causing jitters, Mambo ni Matatu. This word is not for chopping vegetables. Let's start from that. He wants things to go his way. Actually, when it was the Finance Act was actually a bill, he told members of parliament, I'm actually looking for that one person in Kenya Kwanza's camp that will not support this one. Dani Wamshamba obviously did not support it, but most people were scared. What would he do? What does he mean when he's saying, I'm looking for that one person? Is this the right way to go for a president?
No, that's the wrong approach. I know Ruto is a very determined, hands-on leader. We are a nascent democracy. We are a democracy that has only gone back to multi-party politics only in the last 32 years or 31 years. That's a very short time. I don't even think you are that many years.
I was somewhere
exactly.
In the spirit.
Exactly. And so in that circumstance, it is on all of us, media practitioners, elected leaders, presidents, deputy presidents. It's on all of us really to respect the Constitution, to support constitutionalism, pillars of democracy such as a free media. And so some of those utterances are unfortunate, and the president really must desist from that kind of talk in public. I know he was very determined to get something going with Mumias Sugar and what have you. I know he's very determined to push this housing levy, etc. But it must not necessarily be a do or die situation. And certainly, you know, I saw someone once say that the word of a president is like a bullet. You must, to whom much is given, much is expected. You must exercise power, you know, with a lot of decency, with a lot of restraint, and always, as we talked about the last time I was here, just really according to the constitutional guidelines, because the Constitution sets out the tone even under Article 10 for how leaders should interact with citizens, you know, inclusivity, you know, decency, respect for office. You know, you can imagine if as a president you say, you know, my sword is not for cutting vegetables, you know, that can be construed by people in security sector to mean if somebody jokes with me, I'll kill them. And so, do I want somebody killing in my name? Excuse me. You can see I'm even allergic to that kind of talk. So we really must just insist that the president walk the straight and narrow. He's also seen or known to be a Christian. So let the president just be a Christian. Because it's not me who asked him to go to CU or to spend time in church. In fact, as his supporters many a time would highlight how Ruto goes to church much more than Raila does. Because Ruto indeed has gone to church and built churches. So he has shown us that he's a Christian. It is not us who have labeled him a Christian. So let him be a Christian. It's a good foundation. Especially in leadership, you know, to believe in a higher power, to have something like the Bible as your... That's why they swear on the Bible. He didn't swear on a dictionary. He didn't swear on Bhagavad Gita. He didn't swear on the Quran, which are all good and holy books. He swore on the Bible. Let him just... I'm just saying that he has shown us that he's a Christian, so let him be just that.
Do you think we're in a place where people are afraid of countering the president? Okiya Omtatah actually said his life is in danger after that speech. Are we in that place where, Benji, you can come to this seat and say, and filter yourself because you're afraid for your life? And what does this mean for democracy?
Actually, that is so unfortunate, because on some of my interviews that have gone viral, I have gotten calls of concern. In fact, the saddest part about the calls for concern is that they were coming from our own supporters. Even, I mean, those who really supported the party. And the fact that they would think that if I'm too critical, then that kind of puts me in some sort of danger, you know. And I see that sometimes they say, you're saying the truth, but just know they're coming for you. Coming for me for what? I mean, that's... Let the president establish early on a good fundamental foundation upon which he's willing to steer this country to greater glory. That foundation is not going to be in political intolerance, in threatening of members of parliament, who already did all those funny things. Emasculating parliament, you know, confronting MPs, threatening them, calling them, you know, all these unhelpful, unusual, bizarre gimmicks. Let the president just get the support of the Kenyan people and explain clearly what he's trying to do in very decent language. Let him be a tough guy, yes, but threats even to life, the perception of that. You've seen LSK raise a lot of concerns around that. President Eric Theory as well. And therefore, it's not the right thing to do. It's a mistake.
What kind, though, of communication strategy or approach should the president take when it comes to talking about things that are at heart for him? Because you'd look at even the interview he had at the end of last year, and people are just fact-checking everything that he's saying, you know. What communication approach should he consider?
That's a very good question. It's a question that he can ask me as a communications person. So it's two things. It's honest communication. Honest. You say what you mean and you mean what you say. It's honest communication. It's also persuasive.
Okay.
Yeah, in politics, you don't get a vote at gunpoint. Like, wewe lazima unipigie kura. No, it's persuasive. It's persuasive. You go anywhere and everywhere and it's persuasive. Let him convince Kenyans. There's also been a perception that he's a liar. That's been very disturbing for me. If the president took the first item that I gave on honest communication, nobody would really think he's a liar. So once Kenyans feel that you're honest, and then you persuade them, you really won't have a problem.
So it is that simple for him. Just communicate honestly. And
I always tell you I'm a professional. It's literally that simple.
Now, for many, I was listening to a political analyst who was saying, look, we all knew the Ruto that was getting elected. Even you, when you were campaigning on his side then, you knew the President Ruto. Why expect him to change? Because we all knew this is how he speaks, bluntly. Yeah. Why expect him to change now that he's president? Is it a shocker for you that he's speaking the way he is?
It's not a shocker. It's, first of all, the office kind of tames you. You know, it's such a huge responsibility on your shoulders. So it's not something that you can continue to just be the casual guy hurling insults and epithets left and right. So the reality of the load of the office does tend to tame most people. But again, also, Kabiro, and I say this, it's important to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. I give the president the benefit of the doubt. I know he doesn't have the cleanest history and the cleanest slate, but it's important, you know, even our God, who he worships and believes so strongly, he's a God of second chances. You know, is you know, you hear many things. You can hear, oh, you know, Kabiro is this, Manyora is that, Ruto is this, you know, Raila is that. But it's always a noble thing, I think. Benji is this, you know, Benji did that, or I heard he did this. Many times, you know, these things are, you know, they say where there's smoke, there's fire, yes, but many times these things are untrue, unfactual. Can you imagine, like now you've worked with me, you've gotten actually to know me. Yeah. Can you imagine if someone had told you how Benji is just a terrorist, he's a this, but now that you've known me, you've realized, hey, you know, a human being is complex. A human being is not a one-dimensional thing. A human being, you know, people tell you, you know, so-and-so is a thief. But you also get to realize, oh, he's actually a generous man also. He is also a hardworking man. He's someone that can listen and understand. And so you give the benefit of the doubt, and then have the best intentions and noble expectations. If Ruto fails, I don't think so much the fault is on me, who supported him. I think it's godly and noble that I gave a brother the benefit of the doubt and the necessary support. You know, if you trust me and then I disappoint you, or I use the trust to rob you, I don't think the fault so much is on you as it is on me, who is the person doing the wrong, committing the wrong. So let us not bastardize goodwill. Let's not say, you know, Kabiro gave an opportunity to this young man, and this young man came here and stole microphones. Where is the place for reform, even in our prison institutions? You know, in the past, which is different now, we used to just imprison people just for the purpose of getting them out of society and condemning them. Now we have reform initiatives in the prison system, which in a sense is very important to rebuild and reform the person, because it's actually possible for someone to change. It's actually possible for someone to change if you give them the opportunity, and if you kind of egg them on the path of reform.
So we don't look at the Ruto before, we look at the Ruto now. Is this what you're saying? You can say, look, the Ruto that is now is probably not the Ruto that we remember from the past, you know. I
think you look at both, but in an aspirational and optimistic manner, while in a democracy letting him know that you are giving him this opportunity. I've seen a lot of concerns even from the church, and those concerns are well placed. The church is in good stead to ask important questions, to be concerned about the shrinking of democratic space and what have you. It's important, again, because you have, in a democracy, you know, you have freedom of speech, you have channels with which you can express your dissent and critique. And so once again, you're looking, but you're also letting the president know, you know, this is what we expect. And here we feel that you're falling short. To do that is not a crime.
What then should he do if he feels, in his Christmas Eve speech, he said litigations are pushing him back? And some Kenyans are even talking about if we have a benevolent dictator, maybe, just maybe, we can get things right. Is this a situation we're looking at, especially when it comes to dealing with corruption, where we feel like our institutions are not helping us as Kenyans? Is Ruto's approach in this somewhat dictatorial way of handling things the best way to make Kenya function?
You know, it's a complex question, Kabiro, because I'm one of those from experience that understands, that we have a problem in the judiciary. Our judiciary is riddled with corruption. That's a fact of life. Justice is very elusive. B, I also believe that we are becoming an overly litigious state. And that's also not healthy. You cannot run to court for anything and everything under the sun. You cannot, nowadays in Kenya, somebody can go to court and say it has not rained in the last week. And that's not good. Omtata is my personal friend. He does litigate quite a bit. I would ask him to temper his appetite for litigation. Litigation is very important. It's been a few years since I've been to court myself. And that's deliberate, so that you don't make it just a habit, and you also don't unnecessarily trip up, government business. It's a balance.
Most Kenyans will not be happy with you because Omtata is the man fighting for Kenyans in our courts.
Kenyans also are very desperate for results, and so I'm not saying that he shouldn't go. I'm just saying that too much of anything is poisonous. I'm not saying that he shouldn't go to court.
So do you agree with Ruto that litigation is pushing him back when you look at Housing Levy, Finance Act?
Somehow, but the reason they're going to litigation is because he's not doing a good job on the front end of explaining very clearly what the government is trying to do and why. So if he did that, he'd have less litigation and more support. So they're not doing that.
So most of the problems Ruto is facing is
self-made. Yes. Are self-inflicted wounds. Omtata is his friend. I said that before. I know that for a fact. I know Omtata. I've worked with Omtata very well. Omtata has no bad intention. Omtata is very concerned about certain things within government. And he himself now, as an elected leader, is also a part of government. So he's not doing this for fun. Omtata is very pained by the time he's moving to court. Yeah.
What leadership style would you want to see President Ruto approach as we wind up? I told you this is going to be a short conversation. What leadership style would you want to see him taking approach?
A disciplined approach, an executive approach where the president is not everywhere all the time and talking every single day. Let the president pull back into State House. Let him have a game plan, a work plan that Kenyans can see. Let him delegate to very competent CSs and officials, PSs, etc., and let them implement that. And then once in a while, let him explain to Kenyans what's happening, and let it be very clear, concise, and practical, so that Kenyans, especially in their pocket, can feel the effect of a new Kenya Kwanza administration. Without that, the rest is just noise and chaos and name calling. I mean, nowadays it's even so boring to watch news. It's just so empty because it's just divisions and insincerity and you don't really understand the intentions of Azimio or the game plan or anything, and it's a lot of noise and it's really tiring and really disappointing. People are disappointed. Let the president understand that and let him try to turn that around very decisively in 2024.
Well, that's it from me here at Jadiel Kabiro Unfiltered with Benji Ndolo, political analyst, commentator, strategist, scientist, communication expert, and lawyer. Nice to have you again. It's been a pleasure. For the past 2 days, you have been with me. Final message, final word.
You're very humbling. Thank you for having me. Let us all work for a better country. Let us wish the country, the government, the president the very best. Let us correct them, in a civil manner where we see them going wrong. And indeed, let us all pull together so that 2024 is a better year. I wish everybody the best. At Benji Ndolo is where you'll find me on Twitter. Thanks again. And let's keep the conversations alive.
Well, Happy New Year to you and your loved one. I hope your resolutions, your dreams will be finalized, not finalized, but actually actualized. Goodbye for now.